All right, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, first thing, just kind of stretching. You said you were doing some of the jaw stuff and the tongue stuff, but doing this one for a few seconds and keeping the chin leading it will just help, like, open everything up in here. And you can take that to the left and to the right, just to get into the sides.
Oh, that feels so good.
Yeah, that tongue thing you were talking about, where like something will work on one
for
side
it.
but not the other.
The wise man.
Yeah, that'll be because just something's maybe tight on the other side and here, and by doing that, you can actually unlock the other side of the tongue. So then you actually get to like alternate a little more. Yeah, yeah, you can feel it.
Oh yeah.
And then just making a couple just example noises, not necessarily to like do like a ton of singing because you don't want to tire yourself out.
Yeah.
But just making very slow noises down. But then paying attention to what happens at the bottom. Try not to let it like when you're on your way down, try not to let it like suddenly like pit drop at the bottom. It kind of just trails off. Yeah, feel how that's different?
Yeah.
And you get a little more like lower access. That's just letting everything like vibrate around a little looser, and that gives you a little more depth in the screams too.
Sick.
And if you do that on different vowel sounds too, but make sure the same thing happens at the bottom. So it's not just go like physically moving down. Try it. Yeah, there you go. Little drop. Yeah.
A little bit of a drop. Yeah.
And then try it on ah. The ah is going to be really hard because your tongue's kind of going to want to freak out a little bit. Oh, but it's just keeping the openness all the way down. Not like forced, like choking on it, openness, but and then you can even get into that if you want to.
Yep. See.
There. And it twinges a
That's the
little
one.
bit.
Yep.
Just a little bit, but that happens for a little while too. Try it again. Yeah.
Ooh.
And we'll sound a little different from each other, but that's it.
Yeah, I
That's
felt at
it.
the end. That was cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
And then there's other things you can do to stretch out the ends, especially because this is like approaching the end of week 2 of tour for you.
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So usually at this point, just from all the manipulation stuff of all the different kinds of screams you're doing, the areas like underneath and above larynx wise will actually be a little more tired than your actual voice is. Especially when you're dealing with when you're dealing with those dry spots too, just from altitude changes, like climate changes, and then like any like weird being sick. Like those areas get a little tight just from like getting worked when we're talking.
I feel it like up in the back.
So if you make it's really silly, but kind of yawn it and just say the word goo. Try to get more of G. Goo. Yeah. Try to move instead of the G being kind of farther back. In the back. Good. A little farther forward. Good. Yeah, feel how that's different?
Yes.
And now imitate how silly this is. Yeah, feel how you got more of a stretch.
Yeah.
But now instead of coming forward, up. Yeah.
I felt the difference immediately.
Try a little higher. Yeah, it loosens it up so quick.
That was crazy.
And then opposite direction, getting up here, which you want to open up because that'll make all the highs super nasty too. Like think like really annoying, like when you're picking up the kids from the playground and everyone else's kids are annoying, but yours are awesome, but all the other ones sound annoying because they all sound like this.
Now, when you do that, do you draw your chin in, or no? Because I find myself.
I'm kind of show me. Okay, so try not to pull.
Yeah, that's what I find myself doing. Okay.
It's the same thing if you just lift and bring yourself up. Make it like almost like squeakier, more annoying. Yeah. Even if it's quiet, like if the thing you want is just that annoying factor. Yeah, because that's what's gonna just cut right through in that super high-end heavy way, which naturally you're not gonna like scream like that the whole time, but getting a little of this space involved turns the sounds into the thing that cuts a little more. It's in that spot. Try it on a lower note.
Oh, I
There
felt
it is. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So just doing it in a more comfortable spot, there's still all that high end there.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you're like going for like a really massive high, the note doesn't have to be that high. And if you just use a little of that feeling, it'll make the scream sound a lot higher than it actually is.
Oh, okay.
Which is sick. But now that you just loosened those things up, just show me what the scream has been like, or any of them for you, how you get into it.
So I've been doing the breathing thing with the lows.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about it, like a.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been doing those.
Okay.
Or I used to do this thing that I've been doing a little bit too. It's more with like the rolled thing where I almost do like kind of like a scale.
Okay.
Or it's like a. But you can feel the stop in there. It's not, It's not very for some reason on this tour it has like a weird stop to it. It's not like as fluid as it's been in the past.
Okay.
So I don't know what that one's about. But.
Try the kind of breathing approach into it, because that's getting into the false chord sound. That's definitely what that is. But put a hand down here, like your thumb around where your belly button is, and the other hand up here on the chest. Even though like having more tissue up here, you want to move it around.
Mm-hmm.
Try not to, and focus it here instead. Because when you do that, when it's kind of falling out of here, the air is kind of coming out. Even though there's a lot of air coming out because you can fit a lot of air, it's not coming out with as much direction because we can't really control the speed it's coming out.
Okay.
But if we leave this alone and go from the bottom up like a tube of toothpaste, hear how the initiation happens immediately instead of like there's a delay.
Okay.
Try it.
So here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's gonna be a weird shift, but play around with it.
Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right, that was going. Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
But now do that at the same time.
Oh.
Yeah. And that was a little lighter.
That was lighter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep my hands like.
Ooh, that was a little different sounding.
Yeah. And it takes some getting used to, and it's not like just change up everything you've been doing like right before a show, but it's just kind of noticing that you have these different spots that you can tap into to get access to different parts of the sound. Especially
This
with,
was huge right here. That's such a difference.
Getting more rooted down here can get everything moving a lot faster, and then by using more of the support, not like squeezing.
Yeah, I don't want to tighten up too much.
But just feeling like rooted, just because like supporting more of the abdomen will kind of root your body more into what's going on. That's what adds all that low end to it. And then allows you, and it just kind of roots you into the sound, so the vibration kind of takes over, so that you don't have to like chest your way in.
I'm definitely a chesty guy. I've noticed that. So that's
but when you have it, that's normal.
Yeah, but the whole belly thing, like that's so much different because I'm so used to going rather than right.
Yeah.
There we go.
Mm-hmm. Hear all the extra like low end.
Yes,
in it?
yes.
Yeah.
Wow. There we go.
Weird one. Remember how this did so much? Line it up. Now try.
Straight up.
Yeah.
That was it. What the dude? That was. Let's try that again.
Yeah.
Stressed up. That's getting there. Yeah.
That's sick.
It's getting there, yeah.
And
Damn.
even though like that, you can have some time to play around with that and use it whenever you want. When you're on stage, if you feel like maybe the scream is being worked a little too hard, like if you catch yourself, I feel like a little winded, not like, oh God, I can't keep going, but that little twinge of, whew, just did something. You can just kind of line it up whenever, and not to be like,
I know what you mean.
super proper, because you can just like do the arms thing, do the hips thing to keep getting people into it, but all of this is still lined up, and then you can be doing the super super like just loose, but then this makes it look like all the energy is still there.
What I've noticed is when I'm on stage, I do a lot of singing upward. I do that a lot.
Okay.
And I'm kind of trying to get out of that because I feel like that's limiting me.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I'm like flexing too much when I do that. So I feel like that's limiting as far as that.
And here's the other thing. Where the stage is versus where you are because you're taller versus where the audience is, it already looks like you're doing that. Even when you're not. So
yes.
So you can do like a little lean back that's just subtle.
Yeah.
And it will look a lot crazier on stage.
I feel like it's like a force of habit that I do it too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to. Another thing is I find myself, I'm not super relaxed. That's a big thing, you know, the whole staying relaxed thing. So just trying to navigate and get it. But that's gonna help a lot.
I like to have people do, clown set where not necessarily like be silly to the point where it distracts from the music, but let yourself kind of be a little goofier on a set than you normally would be, especially when you're like towards the tail end of like a long string of dates. You can kind of get away with this a little more. What's up, dude?
Nice to see you.
You too.
The man, the myth, the legend. He's got this rad little vaporizer thing he uses, like a mini vaporizer. It's freaking awesome. I'm gonna get one.
Those are sick.
Oh, yeah.
But just letting yourself kind of move around and be a little sillier and having a little more fun with it, even though like not to like deter from like what the song's about either, but just let it be a little more carefree, and you might find like you're moving around the stage a little more and maybe going a little more left and right, maybe a little more front and back, and just the act of moving will help to keep the joints loose enough and the tissue loose enough that everything will just stay open. Because if I'm kind of locked on, it kind of gets held back. It's still usable and it will still sound fine, but it's just a little held back. But keeping it looser, not like this loose, but looser, it loosens up enough extra tissue that you get a lot of extra juice in there without having to like physically do more work to get
it makes sense. Anytime things are looser and more relaxed, it's freer feeling, you know what I mean? Versus being strict and like tight, you know what I mean? So that's my biggest. I'm trying to get away from the tight. I mean, like I move like crazy. Don't get me wrong, but it's still I'm very tight in my movements. You know, especially with like a lot of the. I'm definitely a chest guy.
Yeah.
Definitely the chest guy. I've noticed. So that makes a lot of sense. This is just the
lineup is nuts.
That's the biggest thing for me. Like going from to. I'm still doing a little bit, but.
I mean, even just a little of it makes a huge difference. And it's going to give, even just that little bit of extra stuff gives the sound guy so much extra stuff to work with, which is going to make you sound gigantic.
What I have found is when I do my highs, I go between two things. So there's some days where I push them a little bit harder, and they sound great. And there's other days where I don't have to put much effort into them at all. It's very strange, and they're two different sounds.
And that's just a tension thing.
Yeah.
Because especially like even when the vocal cords are a little tight, especially because I think you're definitely doing more like of a fry thing with those highs.
Unintentionally, yeah.
Because some parts of the vocal cords are loose and some aren't. Technically, by definition, that is what a fry is physically. So even on the days where it's a little tight, the right thing will still come out. It'll just have a slightly different tone quality to it. But then on the days where you're super loose, you're still getting the same end result, but it's just like the ratio of which parts are a little rigid and which parts are kind of flowing in the breeze, so to speak, are just a little different, which just makes it a different version of the same sound.
The really crazy thing about this tour has been warming up, essentially, if I'm able to or whatever, doing my set, then, you know, almost cooling back down for two bands, and then going back up and doing my guest spot with As I Lay Dying.
Yeah.
I get two different tones. My tones when I go up with As I Lay Dying are way different than my tones are when I do it with my band. You'll see. It's very strange, and I don't know if it's because I go from being warmed up to being cooled back down to doing it again. I don't warm up before their set. I'll drink a little bit of hot water.
Yeah.
Just because I feel like it soothes a little bit. You know what I mean?
And you don't want to do like too much either getting into like a guest spot.
That's the thing,
you already had a whole set and all the other work that comes throughout the day. The biggest thing, even though like the stuff with you and that you've been doing with your band is only like a year or so old.
Yeah.
How long have you been running those songs on your own and playing those songs in your head versus how many times have you performed this As I Lay Dying song? It's not your song. That's why.
That's the biggest difference.
They're not your words.
I find myself trying to match the vocal on it without even really intentionally doing it.
Yeah.
Because the vocal on that song is more of a mid-high range vocal, whereas I have a lower. I think my natural voice, and as far as doing these type of vocals, is just lower. Like we were talking earlier, my mids are more low than a mid.
Yeah.
I find myself when I do more of a mid scream, me not liking it and being like, it's not, because I was so focused on being low and doing lows and lows and lows.
Yeah.
So I've been messing around more with that mid range, like I do in Behind the Hand of God a little bit, and also in the new song, I do more of a mid range. Well, my mid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of.
It's a little more voicey.
Yes.
Like there's some more like aggressive kind of bite in it, which is sick.
In the beginning of the song, when I'm doing like the lyrics of One of Us, that's more of like that's almost like a throwback to the talking in Behind the Hand of God kind of in the beginning, which is more of a like I don't even know what you would call that. It's not really it's not a guttural. It's more like a I don't know. Like
it's just like a screamy, spooky voice.
Kind of, yeah.
Ambiguous.
It's a really airy. I don't know if it's a fry or false at all, to be honest. So
it's just a voice. It's just a character voice you came up with.
Yeah, exactly.
That
exactly.
works.
Yeah. So that one, and then there's another song I'm spacing on right now, to where it's in Lost. It's in Lost. That's what it was. In Lost, I do a bunch of mid-tone vocals for the parts, and then I go to really extreme highs.
Yeah.
So that changes a little different too, because I have to focus on using that part of my voice and going to the next part without doing too much in each part. It's really weird. I found myself sometimes, if I really get too carried away with the highs will make me, because if I get too carried away with them, yes, that will cause me a little bit of vocal failure.
Yeah,
because I'm just belting the highs out, versus like with lows, I think I'm more controlled with the lows because I was focused on them so long. Whereas when I use the highs, I'm just like trying to get it out as high as I can.
Yeah.
You know?
The biggest thing, and you'll even notice this on stage tonight because we loosened up this whole area in here, because higher frequencies and higher sounds, like the waveforms are already moving faster and with more energy and travel farther because of that. They kind of naturally project farther, which means at the source, they're a lot louder here than you think they are here, and louder than they are over here, because they're kind of slicing through faster. So it actually picks up a lot of times louder than the lows do. Even if to you the lows seem louder.
And I have the mic away from for the highs, usually I have the mic away from my voice too.
Ooh, bring it back.
Bring it back.
Yeah, bring it back. Because bring the mic into where the sound source is going to be the loudest. Still aim here. I think for me, I aim an average of 6 or so feet ahead of me with a high. I might not send a low scream as far, just because lower sounds don't travel as far naturally anyway, because the waveforms are slower. So I might send a low scream an arm's length away, not not here, but here. Hear the difference? But now if I send it across the room to there's a random thumbtack on the wall, especially if I do a more fry bass thing, like you're doing, arm length versus thumbtack over there 10 feet away. Hear that difference?
Very much so, yeah.
But the mic is still here in both circumstances, so by aiming farther away, it's stronger here. It's not stronger over there, it's stronger here, so putting the mic here will pick up more of it.
Well, plus that new SE I'm using, being the supercardioid, it's right here. It's like the cone, if you will.
Oh, the polar pattern is probably really short.
Yeah. So it doesn't, it's right here, basically. So I think that's why I like it so much. You know what I mean? But it makes sense. I'm defeating the purpose by holding my highs too far away.
No, I used to do the same exact thing. I would do the double hands thing and hold my arms a mile away from me, and and it would look sick. And every time I would watch a video of myself, I'm and I can't hear it anymore. Good.
Well, I always thought that, excuse me, I was projecting my highs too loud. So that's why I would be out here, you know what I mean?
So that might be feeling the effort.
That's, yeah. I in the studio with Wide Open.
Yep.
The less effort I put into those high highs, the better they turned out.
Yup.
So, and I was also in a more relaxed atmosphere in that like I'll probably try to record vocals all the time there.
Yeah.
Because it was so relaxed.
Yeah, that and like the different mic you were using, you were telling me about, and I remember
Yes.
getting the text from you the day after, and I'm just like, yes!
Yeah, that mic made a huge difference. And like everybody's been, did you use that mic? And I said, no, my voice, I already have what that mic would give someone who didn't have that voice.
Yeah.
So that's why I liked using the other one, you know what I mean? And this is the first time I've ever liked.
You keep walking out of frame.
This is the first time I've ever liked my voice on any recording ever. In the 15 or more plus years I've done vocals on this song because of that. So I mean,
that's an exciting thing.
I think a lot of
the song came out great.
techniques.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it is these techniques that are helping the techniques he's getting me. So
And with that, the new song is sick, and it's in the set tonight, right?
it's in the set tonight.
Oh,
We
yeah.
we are playing it last.
Ooh,
So anybody who might not have gotten here in the beginning can still hear that.
that's smart. I like it.
That was Levi's idea.
Big finish, but on that note,
Yes.
I think we got to get you up there.
Yes.
Let's do the thing.
All right.
But it sounds good. It's nice and loose. Fuck yeah.
Hell yes.
Yeah.
Right on.